Welcome, everybody, to the Malevolent Onions Creepypasta talk. And John is stuffing his mouth right now. Oh, yes. Alright, so on today's show, we are going to be talking about another one of those images that kind of kickstarted the creepypasta genre. It's very, very infamous, and fun fact, there is actually two of them, so I have both of them brought up right here. We are doing Smile Dog. Yeah, they're creepy as hell. Um, so do you guys want to introduce yourself real quick? No. All right, let's go.
No, I'm not.
I'm undercover right now, so.
Oh, nice. Well,
I'm undercover. I'm not boy.
the one in his car is Sean. He's doing the music for the animatic, and then the one who's stuffing his face is John, and he is voicing Lucifer in the animatic. Uh,
It's just stuff in space, yas.
so, as you guys can see, there's the image, or images. Uh, just gonna give you guys a few seconds to kind of give me your thoughts on the images.
Nightmare fuel.
And I mean, I've known about the Smile Dog for a while. If any of you have ever watched the Omegle jump scare pranks, where some people have used that image to scare people, you might know where that comes from. But that's fake. I remember the first time I did see it, it was a jump scare, and it was really terrifying. The bottom one, though, I do not know anything about. I've never seen that bottom one, though. But I've seen the top one.
Because I've seen the bottom one, but I've never seen the top.
Yeah, the bottom one is a little bit more popular, but the top one actually came first.
The top one came first. I had no idea that the bottom one, though, was way more popular. I had no idea.
Yeah, the top one.
Looking dog from here. It looks like a normal dog.
The top one was created by Michael Lutz when he wrote the original story on 4chan in 2008.
We just did a story on this one.
Yeah. So usually we just like talk about some aspects of the story, or I'd give you a brief summary. I'm actually going to read the story because it's super short. So, and then I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to react to it after I do read it. So, the story, and feel free to stop me whenever you need me to stop in order for, if you want to say something. The story starts out with, I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed, since I was not a newsman, but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments and, if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business. But at the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door, I listening and taking notes while he attempted to fruitlessly calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time that I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was the sysop for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered smile.dog.jpg. and her life changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS, though she is not, or she is the only one who has spoken openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous or are perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was the most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as smile dog. The being smile.jpg is reputed to display what caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists, other than as rumor or hoax. It is unique because through the entire phenomenon, or though the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file, that the file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly, many photo manipulated. I'm not even trying to pronounce that word because I'm retarded. Photo manipulated of the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites as Imageboard 4chan, particularly the X-Focus Paranormal subboard. It is suspected these are fakes because they do not have the effect the true smile.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset terminal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it is patently absurd. Still, depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither smile.jpg nor smiledog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other, perhaps scandalous shock sites such as hello.jpg or Two Girls One Cup, giggity. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to smile.jpg is summarily deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with smile.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. The Mary E. story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one persistent tale that in 2002, a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire with something awful, or a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile dog pictures, rendering almost half the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 90s, smile.jpg circulated on Unset as an attachment of a chain email with the subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Yet, despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen smile.jpg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo. A dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of the camera, sitting in a dim room, the only background detail that is visible being a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reportedly split into a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims, who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during the time that they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately, often while the victims sleep, resulting in a very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That was why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of smile.jpg, who felt more interested in talking about their experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length I forgot completely about all my pursuits since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March in 2008. So, and he just goes by Mr. L. So I'm going to read her email. It says, "Dear Mr. L, I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope that you understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act as I did. I realize that I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years, I have been haunted by smile.jpg. Smile.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it is true. There is an ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dreams I have ever had. I do not move and I do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see Smile Dog. It talks to me. It's not a dog, of course, though I am not quite sure what it really is. It tells me that it will leave me alone if only I do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That is how it phrases its demands, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail a manila envelope with no return address. Inside it was a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence, as much as the idea disgusted me. And what would happen then? Well, if Smile Dog kept its word, I could sleep. But if it lied, what would I do? And who was to say something worse would not come for me if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing. For 15 years, I kept the diskette hidden amongst my things. Every night for 15 years, Smile Dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years, I have stood strong, though there may have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board where I first encountered smile.jpg stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. Sincerely, I hope you will forgive me, Mr. L., but last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near my breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy diskette. I did not care if Smile Dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing, plotting to ruin your life. I cannot stand the thought, and in fact, I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. L., and I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile Dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. So that's the end of the email. Then he continues. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up the various things she'd left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He'd found the diskette, he revealed, and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first, I thought perhaps it was a joke, with a couple belatedly playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of several Chicago newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for a time at least, I would not further pursue the subject of smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email. To blank from, or to the main character from uh, Elza here, 82 at something.com. Subject smile. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you were interested in Smile Dog. I have saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. Just spreading the word. Smiley face. That final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there is one file attached called, naturally, smile.jpg. I've considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined, and even if it weren't, I was never wholly convinced of Smile Dog's peculiar powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and Murray turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary did, fighting against the urge until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Whom could I burden in turn? If I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who would read the article, anyone who took interest would be affected. And, whoa, what the friggity... Page stopped on me. Like 2 lines from the end. And anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest would be affected. And even assuming the smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be curious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could. And then attached to the story is the image of Smile Dog.
And that's the same top image up there.
It depends on what website you look at. The original one was the top image. The one I'm looking at right now is the bottom. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Welcome back, Sean.
I wanted to let you know and people who are watching, if my camera and my audio happens to mute and go off, it's because I'm going into a building that no one needs to hear the background noise of. I still heard everything you said, though, and I'm not going to lie, hearing that backstory, which I didn't even know there was so much story behind that thing. I had no idea how much.
Well, this is actually pretty short and pretty tame for a creepypasta, in my opinion.
Which I find that crazy because, like, it's just like you weren't stopping. I was like, there's so much that I didn't know about that because I was like, that one picture of a dog, well, I guess both of those pictures of dogs have so much going for them when they're just big old smiley creepy dogs. I'm like, holy cow, there's so much story there that I never knew about.
Yeah, I'm relatively sure, because I watched a video where a guy had actually talked to the creator of the original image, and I'm pretty sure the entity is not actually like supposed to be a dog. He includes a throwaway line in there, saying that they don't think it's a dog, and it doesn't really look like a dog in the original image. I mean, it kind of does, but not really.
Do they say what it looks like or what they think it looks like?
I think it's some type of demon, but he doesn't. It doesn't explicitly say in the story, because the story is supposed to be like an urban legend, as with most creepypastas that we've talked about, like the Rake and Slenderman. It's modern urban legends, and
Okay.
yeah. So Jeff the Killer is not an urban legend. Jeff the Killer is just a power fantasy, and we discussed that in detail last week. But yeah,
But it kind of looks like Skinwalker.
yeah, no, it does.
Kind of in that variety of creepypasta. Skinwalker.
It kind of reminds me of The Ring too, where it's like she wants people to watch the tape, except it's with a picture.
Watch the tape, you die in, what is it, a week, I think?
Yeah,
a week.
But Smile Dog doesn't kill you, which brings me to my next question. Since we're kind of like fast tracking through this talk, do you guys think that Smile Dog is just like an attention whore entity that wants people to notice it? Like it can't actually hurt you, but it will harass you until you share it with all your friends. It just wants attention. It just wants belly rubs, guys.
It's weird because the way that question. I mean, I feel like because you're not wrong. There's some things that like want you. There's some entities and stuff that like want people to know about it. Like, and I mean, I know it's a creepypasta talk, but I can't help with bringing this up because it sounds just so identical to it. But Freddy Krueger and Freddy vs. Jason, for those who don't know, in the movie, spoiler by the way, Freddy wants everyone to know about him so he can be powerful and come back and kill people again. And so when you ask that, I'm like, that sounds so identical to that. And I'm like, and yeah, that would be a good point because, I mean, who knows? I mean, you said the dog can't kill people, right? It cannot kill anybody.
Well, in the story when we were just reading it, the rumor was that it was making people epileptic. But it was keeping them alive and trying to force them to spread the word.
So I mean, yeah, I mean that would be kind of just it. Like it would want people to know more about it, and I mean, I guess it would scare more people. The more people know about it, and this is just kind of a thing that I would think of as like the more that people think and know about it, and you're gonna have those people who are like, oh, that's not real and something. I feel like that the Smile Dog or the entity would go after those kind of people and really fuck with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like mess with the non-believers a little bit because people are like, oh, that's just an urban legend or that's just a myth or oh, that's not real. And then sure enough, Smile Dog or the entity, whatever it decides it wants to be, just shows up and just ruins them and makes them go absolutely insane. And I'm like, that would be kind of cool approach to take with that.
What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, an ad popped up on my iPad where I was like reading the story, and that was weird.
This video is not sponsored by anything.
Sponsored by Yoo-Hoo.
The more you drink it, the more you'll release it.
Yoo-Hoo now.
So
the more you drink it, the more you release it. Yoo-Hoo.
After discussing all of that, I'm gonna keep the questions really, really simple because this is a really simple story in my opinion.
It's Smiling Dog.
Yeah, it's Smiling Dog. Is it actually scary?
The images are scary. The images are scary and disturbing, but the story, I'm just like, I mean, it's scary, sure, yeah, but I'm just like, I mean, it doesn't really kill you. So I'm like, I'm going epileptic. I mean, I know that's not exactly something that anyone would want to experience, but, I mean, just it not being able to kill you, I think is really Nah.
At that point, you kind of get into which is worse, being epileptic for the rest of your life or dying. Sean can't answer right now because he's doing something important. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it said it made people like just develop fits of epilepsy, but whenever they're having their epileptic moments, they're just seeing the smile dog image. They don't know they're having a seizure, and yeah, I'm assuming the creature is talking to them when they're having these moments. But I mean, that being said, in my mind, I mean, it's creepy, yes, but I don't think it's scary. Like it's more like an urban legend. It's super easily avoidable, unless your curiosity gets the better of you in the story. And I mean, I would probably fall for it because I'm dumb. But that being said, I think this whole creepypasta is more an example of a scary image that made a story creepier than it actually is.
Yeah, because I mean, the fact that it's just a smiling dog, and I mean, like I said, it's unnerving, yeah, but, the fact that it doesn't really kill you, it just makes you go epileptic, which, like I was saying earlier, yeah, sure, that'd be scary even in itself. I mean, being epileptic, I know would not be fun, but at the same sense, I mean, I know there's people who live out there that have epilepsy or deal with stuff like that. They still live life as best they can. So, I mean, it's more, I guess, something that would screw with you mainly mentally, in my opinion, but it wouldn't hurt you. I mean, it could make you want to hurt, you know, insert text, but, just,
I mean,
I think it's one of those that would mess with you psychologically, not physically.
and that's kind of the whole point of the story is it's a psychological horror type thing. So, but yeah,
Yeah, it's not something that would kill you. It would just mess with you and make you want to do something to you.
but yeah. So, I mean, with that being said, like honestly, it's not that scary. I will say that usually after like we go through these discussions, I'd ask you guys to like kind of pitch me a Smile Dog movie. I don't think you can with this one.
There's a way you could do it, but I mean, it wouldn't come off as like, I mean, you know, horror movies don't have to have kills per se in them. I mean, you don't have to have deaths in them. I mean, most of them obviously do, but I mean, with Slender Man, that's been turned into a movie, though everyone can agree that it could have and should have been way better than it was.
There's multiple Slenderman movies.
Huh?
There's multiple Slenderman movies. Marble Hornets actually made one.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we talked about Jeff the Killer, I mean, obviously, as of right now, that doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon, but, we pitched ideas into it. And, with The Rake, we even pitched in ideas where some people said it could be a movie or an anthology series or, like, a TV show pitch for that. But with this one, I mean, you can make a psychological horror movie, just I don't know how you would make it work. Because, I mean, there's not a lot you can go off of with it. And I mean, like I said, it's a smiling dog. I mean, it would probably if you wanted to make it a movie, people would probably be like, oh, here's another demon movie with a demonic dog.
Yeah, I don't think you could make a good movie.
Get a successful movie.
Yeah, I don't think you can make a good movie out of Smile Dog.
No, you can't. Even a TV show that listen to.
The only way you could is you'd have to deviate from what the material there actually is, which at that point there is no point making a small dog.
Right.
There's not enough material to go on. There's not enough anything.
If you could stretch out a story and add a lot more depth into its story and stretch out some lore and make it actually convincing and compelling, then sure, you might have something there. But with what's presented at us right now, it's not much to go off of other than here's a scary demonic dog. There's your scary person.
And then here's another question though. It's like if you do a Smile Dog movie, do you actually show Smile Dog? Like, I guess you show the picture, but do you actually show the entity at any point? Because I'm sorry, but that's not that's going to be overly CGI'd. You can't really do it practically, and that would also deviate from the lore because the lore is just a picture. So, and you know that Hollywood would want to do it too. It's just I don't see how you could make it work, honestly, and I don't think there would be.
I'm gonna say it. Is there any sort of at all clue of what entity is behind that dog, or is it just a picture and that's it?
I like the popular theory online that it's just a harmless entity that wants attention.
I mean, I think honestly that of itself, like I said, it's unnerving, yeah, but like we all said, would it be scary? Like, really scary? Not really, more unsettling if anything else, which, I mean, granted, yeah, that some things that are unsettling can be really batshit terrifying, but, most people are going to be like, oh, smiling picture of a dog, and most people aren't going to be scared by that. I mean, surely, like I said, unnerving, yeah, but, like, really scared? No.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He just wants attention. It's like me when I'm drunk.
Well,
But yeah, no. And I think that's where I'm going to kind of end the discussion here because there's not much to say about it. It's a super simple story. As a story, I think it's decent. I don't think it's scary. And yeah, those are kind of my final thoughts on it. And yeah. So, anyways, is there anything else you guys want to add before I stop the recording?
No, I mean, there's not much story there, so there's not really much to add.
Yeah. All right, then. That is it for today's episode of Creepypasta Talk. We hope to see y'all next week when we go over like 3 hours of Pokemon Creepypasta lore. It's gonna be awesome.
Adam's not going to add more to it.
Oh boy, it's a 3 hour video that I sent y'all.
You might as well just let them run now.